Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Connor. I'm joined by Lyss today, and we have yet to talk about a loss on this show. The Winnipeg Jets last night win 5-3 over the Calgary Flames to move to 8-0-0 to begin the season. They've won 16 straight regular season games dating back to last year. Like you said in your tweet list, they haven't lost a regular season game since March of last year, or this year, I guess, but last regular NHL season. So we've got a big show today. Lots to talk about. Thank you, everyone who's here live with us in chat. The chat is already buzzing. Everyone's excited about the Winnipeg Jets right now. Lyss, how are you doing today?
I'm doing super well, and lots of people in the chat are commenting on just what a great sports weekend it was in general. Got some good news from the Bombers, got some good news from the Bisons. Things are going really well. So very excited that, this show, things go better for us. Things work out well for us when we have something exciting to talk about, something big to talk about, whatever. Sometimes that could end up looking like, stinky losses, that sort of stuff. But right now, we're kind of just riding the high of having an 8-0-0 hockey team to start the season. Best.
Oh my goodness.
I saw the stat yesterday. This is the best start to a season by any new head coach. So that's a big record for Scott Arniel. So that's really awesome. So just a lot of really good news kind of in and surrounding that.
And Jay Miller asks, is Monday a must win or can't lose? Leafs are going to be up for this one after another loss. They lost to the Bruins last night.
It's a really good way to describe the game.
Monday's going to be a big game. We're going to preview that game as well later on in the episode, but the focus today is going to be on the Calgary game, the 8-0-0 start, our big picture takeaways from the start, and what we're projecting going forward. Obviously, that starts on Monday against the Maple Leafs. Great to see everyone in chat. Good morning. Hope everyone's got their coffee. Pionk signed him now. He had another really strong game last night. We will get into that. Matt, your hair looks great. Let's start the show. Yeah, that's why we were late. Sorry, guys. Good morning. And what a day for the Jets, Bombers, and Bisons. Yeah, what a day yesterday. And we will talk about the Bombers too, because I feel like we have to mention, like, the only way that the Bombers get mentioned on this show is winning a game the way that they did yesterday. So we're going to
be mentioned on every sports show in the country that's happening today because of how that went. So weird.
Yeah, just like, okay, anyways, we'll wait that. Just got done KNR in time. Love to see it. I was able to catch KNR last night as well as Illegal Curve. That was some fun chats last night. People were fired up. But let's get into it. A 5-3 win last night. The power play scores twice again. Eric Comrie gets the start. And just a ton of weird goals in this game. Like, Nikolai Ehlers scores off of Rasmus Anderson's skate. Backlund and Anderson for the Flames both score from like below the goal line. Dylan Sandberg shoots one off the post, glass, Dustin Wolf's back and in. And then Cole Perfetti's, that's a goal.
The only real game. Well, I guess Kuzmenko's goal was okay, but
yes. And then Cole Perfetti, I mean, it was a nice goal, but it was. He even said in the post game it was a bit of a change up, like a weak one. Just a weird game, but Jets come away with a 5-3 win.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a bit strange. Comrie getting the start, I think, was kind of interesting to me. That was my big thing I wanted to sort of talk about to start this game, just because to me that exudes swagger and confidence from the Winnipeg Jets. Like, this team is wanting to prepare themselves to have a really strong season. They're not really super pressed about this record. If they were pressed about this record, they'd probably, try and play it pretty safe, play the Connor Hellebuycks of the world, whatever they think their best chance of, winning this next game is. Playing Eric Comrie is a chance to, get him more game reps, give him a strong competition. Calgary is the second best team in the West right now, as far as record goes and stuff like that, right? Like, they played him because they wanted him to, develop his confidence. They wanted to show him that they believe in him. he did let in 2 real stinkers from that, like you mentioned, those goal line shots, which you have to wonder if the book on him is that, because that's 2 really, really weird shots to score on and frankly take. I don't think the Winnipeg Jets took any goal line shots in
No,
that game.
yeah, like
But the calm restart, I think, was huge, and I think that helps the team's confidence. This isn't your Vezina winning goalie winning you every single game that you've had to start the season. He's obviously been a huge, huge, huge factor in the 6 games that he's played so far. But I think the Comrie win was really nice, and I think that helps set them up, to try and fill Laurent Brossois' shoes from last year.
And when Eric Comrie, like your backup goalie, wins a game, that's ultimately a good thing. And like you said, Calgary has started the year 5-1-1 coming into this game, and they looked really good last night. I thought they looked really good as a team. Like they surprised me. I know again the record says 5-1-1, but I hadn't really watched much of their games this year and wasn't really buying it because they were so bad last year. But they looked good. And Dustin Wolf, I know he had some weird goals going against him, but that 5-on-3, my goodness, he robbed Gabe Vilardi point blank, robbed Josh Morrissey point blank, Kyle Connor point blank. Like that was just an incredible 5-on-3 performance from Dustin Wolf.
My question on, like you said, because I was in the same boat. I was like, wow, what a fluke. The same way that Utah had a couple of good games to start the season, everything like that. At what point is a record like this not super fraudulent? Because, like, here's the thing. Are the Winnipeg Jets on pace for 82-0 hockey team? No. But I think, we've talked about this. We'll continue to talk about it. They talk about it on the big show. Like, there are a lot of things that have contributed to these wins so far. A couple of them have been in overtime. Some of them we've had some, lucky goals, guys, stepping up big to score when it matters, even though they were getting sunk for a lot of the game, right? Like, this is not a perfect team, even though they have a perfect record. What do you think about Calgary in that sense? Like, what's your temperature check on them?
I subscribe to the American Thanksgiving thought of like, if a team is in a playoff spot by American Thanksgiving and like has beaten some good teams by then, or is like first in their conference, then I think it's time to start taking them legit, even with a little bit of concerns. But when a team starts 5-0, like the Flames, or a team starts, I think the Wild are 7-0-2, or they're
they haven't lost in regulation yet either.
Right. So like the Wild, we talked about it on a season preview show, just kind of like a mid team. No one really expected them to go off this year, but maybe they will. But I'm gonna wait at least like another couple weeks here till American Thanksgiving, see if they keep this up. Obviously, they're gonna lose a game. So are the Jets. So is every team. But it's interesting. Yeah, big test Monday. Tim Potter says this is the first. I think really big test as in like the Jets are going to be playing a playoff team at home, and it's going to be a good one. I can't wait for Monday. And then just last thing on Eric Comrie, Phyllis saying she was shocked to see him go into the net. I agree. He didn't take the practice the day before. No one really knew. I think there was a morning skate Saturday as well, and no one really knew if he was going to start. Just kind of led on the warm up. I don't know. The Eric Comrie takes to me just feel weird. Like, this market has Connor Hellebuyck. He's the best goalie in the world. So when not Connor Hellebuyck is playing, no matter who it is, it's always like a roll your eyes. Oh my goodness, Eric Comrie's playing. Oh my God, the backup's playing. But it's like, he's a backup goalie in the NHL. Like last night, nothing told me anything different than Eric Comrie's a backup goalie in the NHL. Like, he's just a backup. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't. And Laurent Brossois last year, to your point that you've brought up on many shows, struggled really badly out of the gate last year.
Yeah.
And then was the best goalie backup goaltender in the league, got a starter contract with the Blackhawks. Like, Eric Comrie's a backup. He played like a backup. I don't know.
I get that. But I think the thing is, it's like you're 100% right. We are just simply not that used to that. Like, totally. Brossois played like Connor Hellebuyck last year, and I'm not even joking by saying that. Even when the Jets were struggling a little bit and into the new year and stuff like that, like, he was exceptional. And like you said, most teams, there is a goaltending epidemic going on in the NHL right now. And some people are getting Eric Comrie level goaltending as their starting goaltending. So I agree with you. Like, he's not perfect by any means or anything like that. He's fine. And you can't expect to have two fantastic goaltenders, because otherwise you would be running a goalie tandem, and we see that not a lot of teams have that luxury. The Winnipeg Jets, I believe, actually, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say, I think they would run a goalie tandem if they had another starting caliber goaltender. I think they would trade a goaltender if they had another starting caliber goaltender. But besides the point, Eric Comrie is fine. That's the end of that conversation.
Right. Like, and look, are they going to lose maybe a game or two, or maybe even more than that this year because Eric Comrie lets in like two goals above expected? Maybe, but
they'll do that with Hrabchak too. So whatever.
Right. Yeah. Like whatever. Comrie, I thought actually played well last night. And as Matt Hyman said, he'll be good, but I think I know what Wade Flaherty and Comrie will be working on in practice. That's literally it. I thought Comrie played great last night, and he'll just need to work on those little goal line shots, whether it's up high, down below the blocker, the glove. Like I think he'll be just fine.
And I fully prefer that over it's like, oh wow, you can Andre Pavlik and make these crazy athletic saves, the sprawling ones, but you're positionally poor. I take this reality over that every single day of the week. So it is what it is. But yes,
it is
they
what
will
it
be
is.
Working on that.
Yes, for sure. And Joel saying they want Helly starting in Detroit. I'm sure they want him starting Monday and Wednesday. I'm sure Hellebuyck wants to play in Detroit as well. But definitely against the Leafs at home as well. And quick thing about that Detroit game, I just do want to quickly mention Boston Pizza Polo Park WST watch party for Jets at Red Wings. The game starts at 6:30. Come for 6 o'clock. It's a Little Brown Jug BP kind of launch party. Little Brown Jug on tap now at Boston Pizzas. So really, really excited to see everyone there. Lyss and I will be there.
Yeah,
we will be there. So hope to see all of you there Wednesday as the Jets take on the Red Wings. And who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about a 9-0-0 team on Wednesday.
Because that could end up being so fun if we get a good result on Monday. Could be pretty sick to. That energy is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome regardless. But
it's going to be awesome regardless. Yes,
I'd prefer if we were watching a 9-0-0 team at BP on Wednesday. So Winnipeg Jets, if you're listening to this, please win on Monday.
Please win. Yep, that would be great. And AJ throwing in a great stat here. Historically, about 77% of NHL teams in a playoff spot by American Thanksgiving make the postseason. Teams not near the top face an uphill battle, with only 23% managing to secure a playoff spot. So that is a really interesting.
Quite telling, but also that includes teams who are in the 8th seed and the 9th seed, right? These really flippy-floppy ones. The Winnipeg Jets, if they can keep up, obviously not exactly this pace, but with a little bit of a grace period, they will probably have an even higher odds, because if you look at like top 5 teams in the conference versus bottom 5 teams in the conference, I bet you that stat is even more polarizing between the two. So fingers crossed, things are looking pretty good to start the season. Not gonna lie, Connor, did not think we were gonna spend the first 15 minutes of the show talking about Eric Comrie. I thought, we were probably gonna mention a couple of the goals, but I had a lot more to say than I was the one who really kind of went in on them there. But definitely a storyline there with the goaltending and the backup goaltending that people have had some questions about. That's not the only thing that happened in that game.
Absolutely. And we'll get into it in a second here. I just want to quickly get to Scott Arneal's comments. He was asked post-game on the win, and then he was asked about Kyle Connor's goal, which came on the penalty kill. I want to kind of transition this conversation into the power kill and a special teams discussion. So here's Scott Arneal on the win and Kyle Connor scoring on the penalty kill.
Yeah, there was a little bit of everything. Obviously, getting scored on first shift off our goalie's head. And, a lot was happening. Real proud of our penalty kill in the second period. Found a way. He made some. Combs made some big stops, so we found a way to get out of that one. And then obviously in the third we got a chance on it. I like the fact that we were shooting pucks on our 5-on-3. Wolf made some big stops on their end as well. But I like the momentum that kind of carried us in after that. And then we score finally again after. But that was a entertaining game for the fans. I don't know about coaches, but it was entertaining for the fans.
I know about the effort by Kyle Connor on the shorty to fight through the check and.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about, we were using him this year because he is a threat when the puck happens to go the other way, and he pushes people back, and that's what you like to see, and there's great play by Lau. But you know what? It's all little details that happen on specialty teams that'll make a difference, whether it's on a power play, retrieving a puck, or making a play, or it's PK, those second efforts. That's what it's about.
So there it is, Scott Arneal on the win, and Kyle Connor scoring on the penalty kill. And Lyss, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask the chat because I don't know. What was Blake Coleman so mad about on that goal? He, in transition, just real quick, in transition, he actually grabs Kyle Connor on like the back of his pant shell and pulls him back, which gets him in like stride with Kyle Connor, who simply just gets himself open and outmuscles him. Like there's nothing, there's no call, no nothing, and he was all over the refs. I don't know if you know in chat, Lyss, if you know, what was Blake Coleman so mad about on that goal?
So first of all, I'm the wrong person to ask because I hate Blake Coleman. He is one of those NHL players that I do not wish success on at all. I'm reading a book right now. I told you about this, that Craig Custance wrote. He interviewed Julian Breezeball for part of it. And Blake Coleman is one of those players that was traded for by the Lightning, won the cup, right, and then signed like insane money for a player who is not worth insane money. Same thing with Barclay Goodrow. Hilarious. I think, here is my conspiracy theory. I listened to Illegal Curve's take on it. I listened to Kenny and Rennie's take on it. A lot more temperate than mine. I genuinely think that, when you're watching the teams, you're watching the film before your opponents, you're learning, trying to get the book on them. I wonder if he thinks that Kyle Connor must have done something wrong, because how else could he have possibly beat him in that situation? That is what I believe. That is what I think. It wasn't
with speed, it was with power. And if you're getting beat by Kyle Connor with power, I mean, I guess you have the right to be that angry just at yourself, not at the refs.
Well, I know that's always the thing, right? It's like, what are you arguing here? It's like the classic, when a guy swings his stick to a guy who doesn't even have the puck and trips him, and they start complaining to the ref. It's like, for what? Like, what's the goal here? They can't overturn this call regardless. Yeah. So what are you doing? And this is kind of similar situations. Like, you really? But yeah,
I know.
I think Jets Girl probably has a point. I think that's probably had a large impact on what happened there.
For sure. And I think I do want to say, like, emotion takes over for these players in these situations when it is truly a bad call. And you know what? If Kyle Connor, I don't know, slashed the stick out of Blake Coleman's hands and then scored a goal, yeah, there you go. Get angry. But that was just, there was nothing there. If anything, there was a hold on Blake Coleman at the blue line, and then he got beat to the net. That was literally it. I no clue what he saw, but
I do think the Jets, I kind of gave them we talk about the Winnipeg sports gods yesterday, and they were working overtime a little bit. I think Winnipeg definitely got the benefit of the doubt with some non-calls and stuff like that, and some of the calls that Calgary got, I was a little bit, question mark around and stuff like that. I didn't think the reffing was skewed, because I never talk about reffing being skewed. I think it's a dumb conversation. I have no interest in talking about it. However, that is a situation where I feel like pretty objectively, I can say I don't know how Kyle Connor could have possibly played that cleaner.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of playing it clean, the power kill got the goal, and the special teams got 2 goals. Cole Perfetti with the one late, which was the eventual game winner. Just real quick on the special teams list. I mean, you can start with the power kill. We've seen that, in training camp, that was a big emphasis. They were going to play Scheifele and Connor, and Lowry with a great pass to Kyle Connor, who fought through the Blake Coleman check, like we just said. And then the power play got on the board as well. But maybe start with the power kill. What did you see? I mean, what have you seen so far through the first 8 games? And then it finally paid off with a goal last night against the Flames.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that is very important to me to always bring up and address when talking about penalty kills is that a penalty kill is not defense. There is a very, very huge difference between how you play the penalty kill and how you play 5-on-5 defense. Yes, you are defending, but someone can be very good at one of those things and not the other. They are not an equal skill set. They are different. One is not better. One is not worse. They are different. So when you talk about guys like Kyle Connor, I want Kyle Connor on a penalty kill, but I don't want him on 5-on-5 defense. Guys, like Logan Stanley, not the hugest fan of him killing penalties, but his reach when you're in tight is actually a huge advantage to properly. He had a couple of really good poke checks, in my opinion, yesterday, especially on the penalty that Dylan Sandberg took, because Dylan Sandberg does eat a lot of those defense penalty killing minutes. And when he had to step up there, I thought he looked decent, because, that reach, there are different things. And again, don't love Logan Stanley as a 5-on-5 defender. Don't love him as a 5-on-4 defender either. I'm not saying that necessarily, not going that far. Just trying to say, different skill set. You're being asked to do different things. And I thought the Winnipeg Jets, I think they have the right guys killing their penalties right now. I think Kyle Connor is a great add to the penalty kill. Mark Scheifele, don't know if we've seen a ton of that yet. I know they mentioned that they were going to try.
Yeah.
I don't think he's played a ton, if any at all. Kyle Connor has played some, and I think he's looked great. But
this is hilarious. But yeah,
incredible. I thought the penalty kill looked pretty good yesterday. I thought it's hard because, again, I don't have the book on Calgary's power play or anything like that, but I thought they were moving the puck pretty well as well, and Winnipeg was able to keep them to the outside pretty well. Calgary was also able to keep Winnipeg to the outside a bit, so, it kind of went both ways in this game, but generally speaking, love the power kill. I always love, trying to match the other team's offense with more offense, because the Winnipeg Jets, even though there was a Jennings Trophy last year, this is an offensive team to me. So I think they really play to their players' skill sets in the situation. So I love it.
Yeah. And I do just want to quickly say that Logan Stanley I do want to echo your point there, especially on the 5-on-3. Because like you said, they were a little more condensed on a 5-on-3. They kind of just play like 5 on a die, usually power play units when it's a 5-on-3. So you get real close to the net and just kind of play with your instincts. And he had a few really good poke checks that prevented some good chances. So want to give him his flowers there on that defending sequence. But like you said, the points for the Jets, holy moly. 8 players over a point a game. Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, and Neil Pionk have 10. So your top 4 scorers all have 10 points. Cole Perfetti has 9. Nino Niederreiter, Mason Appleton, and Josh Morrissey have 8 points. So that's, like I said, 8 players over a point per game through the first 8 games here.
This
unbelievable.
Is kind of a random question.
Mm-hmm.
When was the last time, have the Winnipeg Jets ever had someone get 100 points in a season since they relocated?
No. Wasn't Blake Wheeler 93?
I think so.
Something
Yeah,
like
I think it's something like that. I think he's still
and
like
it
the
wouldn't
highest
have been
ever,
anyone
right?
else. I don't.
So yeah, like that's why that was
Kyle Connor was in the 90s once too. But
good. Yeah, exactly. But like that diversification of scoring is such a huge advantage for this team. It's unbelievable.
It tells the story of the Jets offense, because we talk about the power play and they're at what, like 45%. I haven't checked the percentage after last night's 2 for 4 performance.
Someone in the chat said 47%, and that sounds like it could be about accurate to me.
Sounds about right. We'll roll with it. The chat is usually right.
Fake news over here, but
yeah. But it tells the story of the Jets because the power play's been so good, but like the second unit is the one kind of doing the damage of late. Like Nino Niederreiter scoring, Cole Perfetti scoring on that unit. It's really interesting because it's I don't know, like it's such a diversification of scoring, like you said, but even the power play, which the top unit has been fantastic, the second unit is picking up the slack when they're unable to score.
Well, okay, here's my thing though. Picking up the slack, like I want to you use the metaphor, give their flowers. The first unit has been like decent. I would be exhausted if I were Dustin Wolf after managing that first unit for the first 45 seconds, minute, whatever it was that unit was playing, the 5-on-3. Are you kidding me? There is a certain level of that, the whole concept of like really wearing them down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but you're totally right. And I think, I don't know. The power play is so interesting. It's one of those things that, like, if you're kind of either a hockey nerd or a really big hockey fan, you love watching power plays because there's so much more. You can watch the decision making so much more clearly than you can at 5-on-5 because you can see what plays are trying to set up. 5-on-5, it's like, okay, we are now in this situation. What decisions should we make? When it's 5-on-4, you know what situation you're in. So you can watch the decision making kind of unfold. And I thought the power play was interesting yesterday. They need to run that thing through Gabe Vilardi, and I don't really know why they're not. I think, and again, I love coming up with these stats analogies. Absolutely no backing this. Didn't even think of this till now. I bet you on that first unit, I would almost guarantee he had the least touches on the power play yesterday. Below Scheifele, so. Connor, Ehlers, and Morrissey. I am pretty confident in saying that, right? And I think they will have more success if he's not the one who touches it the least. Generally speaking, I think your power play will be more successful if your defenseman, your point guy, is the one who touches it the least. You can keep that down low and kind of cycle it down there. I digress. I thought the first unit was kind of interesting yesterday. Somebody mentioned in the chat that once Gabe gets cooking, he's really going to cook, and I agree. that can happen anytime now.
Where are we at? Yeah.
But generally speaking, I'm still loving the movement. Still loving what Dean Chenoweth is doing. Your Davis Payne, I forget which one it is. Besides the point,
Payne.
Really liking what's kind of going on with the power play. And I thought yesterday, even though they didn't score on the 5-on-3, it was a huge momentum builder that I think really, really helped. It was momentum for Calgary as well, right? Because killing off a massive 90-second 5-on-3 is huge. But the Winnipeg Jets were raring to go. Also, sorry, last thing before I pass it back to you.
Yeah.
Kyle Connor, I don't know if I've ever seen that man wanted to shoot the puck so badly yesterday. I don't know if I've ever seen him so hungry to shoot. I almost didn't like it. I was like, don't shoot there. Why are you shooting there? It was fine, but there are just a lot of different moving pieces on that power play right now.
For sure. And I don't know, Scott O'Neill mentioned a few weeks ago that Kyle Connor's a volume shooter. So maybe they are kind of pushing him to shoot a little bit more, but that 5-on-3 was ridiculous. He wound up for a one-timer like 3 or 4 times, which again generated a lot of offense off of it. So like it was fine. But he did take a lot of shots. It was really interesting.
I think kind of where I'm at on that one too is he is someone who shoots to score as he should. He should shoot to score because he is really good at picking those corners and stuff. But if you're playing against a penalty kill that, like Calgary kind of went yesterday, isn't giving Gabe Vilardi a lot of room to actually make passes or make kind of down low, shoot for a couple of rebounds and let him pot those garbage goals because he can. And I think that's the best way to utilize his strengths as well, is not necessarily shooting for the corner every time and ringing it around the boards when you miss. Not trying to, that's not supposed to be like an insult. It's just, that's the way it goes when you do try and pick those teeny tiny mere inches corners. So I would love to see a little bit more shooting for rebounds when you have one of the best net front guys in the league on your first unit.
For sure. I agree. And as someone who predicted Gabe Vilardi to have 40 goals this year, I definitely agree. Okay, shifting off of the special teams, I want to bring up this deployment. So there was a lot made. The Jets started on the road in Edmonton, that game where the Lowry line absolutely decimated the Oilers. Then they came home for 4 straight. And the first line all season long has been the Scheifele line, Connor, Scheifele, Vilardi. But the second line, this has been a big debate. Who do we call the second line? Oh my goodness, don't call the Ehlers line the second line. Well, I think they're back. And this, I want to bring this up because all 3 games on this road trip, the Ehlers line has had more 5-on-5 ice time than the Lowry line. Last night against Calgary, Ehlers' line has had 10-25 minutes of 5-on-5 even strength time. The Lowry line had 8-28. And then the Seattle game and the St. Louis game as well, Nikolai Ehlers was in the top 3, top 4 for even strength ice time. His line mates were up there. Like this line, I think on the road might be the second line where Scott O'Neill doesn't control the matchups, but at home on Monday night against Toronto, I'd be shocked if the Ehlers line was the second line by deployment because Austin Matthews is coming over the boards and they'll put Adam Lowry, I think this might be a little bit of a home road thing. Am I out to lunch here?
No, I think there's definitely some merit in that, if for nothing else, simply because that's what's been true to start the season. But Scott O'Neill, with his deployment of Nikolai Ehlers and Cole Perfetti, definitely shows flashes of Rick Bowness. And last year, I almost guarantee that there were less than 10 games where the Ehlers
I will say last night they were protecting a 1-goal lead with like a minute left.
Yeah.
Ehlers line.
Okay. Yeah. No, I know. So that kind of feeds into my narrative here, where I don't know if it's a home road thing. I simply think it's because they're playing better. Because last year, I don't think, maybe I never looked into it enough, but I didn't really see a huge difference in ice time versus like road games versus home games or anything like that. That line was playing last year. Yeah. It was playing less than the Lowry line pretty consistently and everything like that. This road trip is kind of synonymous / ensuing them playing really, really good hockey together. And you're right that especially when they're at home and you want to set the Lowry line over the boards and everything, like they also change on the fly. You can send the Lowry line out there more if you wanted to. This is deliberate coaching on my part. This line has been good and they're being rewarded with more opportunity to be good, which is simply more ice time. So I know what you're saying. And I think there's definitely merit to that for sure. But I think it's more performance based than it is lineup or line change, last change control situation.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. And honestly, they've earned it. Like you said, they've played so much better as of late. Cole Perfetti now over a point a game, say with Nikolai Ehlers. I mean, that line has been dominant, not only on that first power play unit, Nikolai Ehlers, second power play unit, Cole Perfetti, but at 5-on-5 too. I think all 3 games of this road trip, they've outshot their opponents, attempted their opponents, had more expected goals, and outscored real goals, outscored their opponents at 5-on-5. So that line has definitely earned a bump in time on ice. And I'm going to be interested to see, Monday's going to be interesting because whether or not, like, the Lowry line is going to match up against the Matthews line. That's how the Jets want to play it.
Of course. And that's how they should play it.
And that's how they should play it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So does it go right back to Lowry line, second line, Ehlers line, third line? I think it does. And I think like if you're matching up against Matthews, naturally you're going to play more minutes, right? So
yeah. And also, listen, 8-0 Jets team, super awesome. Other than the Oilers in game 1, haven't seen the strongest slate of competition. Calgary, I still put into kind of the enigma category, whatever. The Toronto Maple Leafs are one of the better teams that this team will have faced this year when we play on Monday. So it'll be very interesting. I agree with you, but also I think it's weird because the Ehlers line really struggled in game 1, but I love that line when they have a little bit of extra space and they have more room. Toronto's defense is kind of a nightmare. They're kind of all over the place. And I think the Ehlers line could capitalize on that. I think, loose pucks on the blue line. Some of those guys who play big minutes on the blue line for Toronto are a little bit more offensively minded, and sometimes they get trapped up kind of on the blue line there. I think there's potential for them to have a good game, especially with how they've been playing lately. I agree with you. The ice time at 5-on-5 will go Scheifele line, Lowry line, Ehlers line, Kupari line, obviously, for sure. Well, but I think but like you said, that Ehlers line was out there defending a lead yesterday, right? Which is not something that we've seen. And I don't dislike it at all. Like, I think it's great. Put good players out there. Cole Perfetti is underrated defensively, in my opinion. Nikolai Ehlers is who he is. I don't know. But the thing is, I would still rather have him out there defending at 5-on-5 than Kyle Connor, than probably Mark Scheifele, then Gabe Vilardi, so like it kind of take it and leave it. I don't know. Very, very non-answer to your kind of question about thoughts on ice time. But I agree with you at the end of the day that Lowry will get more ice time, but he should. I'm not worried about that line scoring goals. If you can stop Matthews from scoring goals, let the other 2 lines cook. That's how you're supposed to play hockey.
Absolutely. I agree. So that'll be something to watch for Monday. And then Wednesday when they go back on the road. And Wednesday, like I said earlier, I'm going to pump it again. BP, Polo Park. Make sure you call and reserve a table. I think Huss was telling me that. You need to call and reserve a table if you want to show up. Yeah. We're going to be there. WST watch party. Jets at Red Wings. BP, Polo Park. Celebrating the Little Brown Jug BP collab launch party. Going to be super fun. Hope to see everyone there.
Photo shoot on the Sports Talk Instagram is so cute. Hustler with his little beer. Adorable.
Yeah. Doing some ads there. That's big time. Hustler's big time. Well, it's 9:36. We don't have intro music for him, but let's welcome Jacob Stoller to the
show. Whoa.
I don't have my own intro.
2 holes in 1.
Wake up, Jacob.
I need one of those. What's up, guys? How's it going?
How's it going? Nice to see you.
It's going.
Nice. It's going. Okay.
Rough morning.
Okay, nice to see you. Well, the chat
late.
Yeah, the chat is bumping. Everyone's fired up about a big Jets win. We covered a lot of the good topics. Maybe we should move on to the DeMello and Vilardi concerns that we talked about.
Because I'm here.
Yeah. Let's move on.
First, bearer of all bad news.
Jacob, your thoughts on last night's game, the 8-0 start, the positives before we move on. How you doing?
It was awesome. Like, I mean, like the fact they keep winning is pretty incredible. They're making me eat my words. Like, this team just won't stop winning. I mean,
yeah.
Look, you can make an excuse for every game. Oh, they won because of this, that. They've won 8 straight games. Like, it's pretty incredible. Like, you can't really slice up any other way. But that Perfetti goal, like, Cole Perfetti's a guy where he's very, like, when he scores, I don't think I've seen him like silly like that. Like, this guy just seems like right? Like, I've never seen him have that kind of excitement. So And the reason I mention that is like this guy seems fired up, and like he's playing some of the best hockey I've ever seen him play. Like the last 4 games, like the second line turned it around. I'm trying to remember what game was it?
San
like,
Jose. San Jose.
That first
San
yeah,
Jose
first
was the
really
game
weak
where
The
they had
second
that
line
big
had
night.
like 4 points. Each player had 4 points. Yeah.
Since then, they've been great. Like, I mean,
and the Jets social media team, like I think it was Lowry and Perfetti who got the jackets, and their caption was like, 2 Canadian boys playing on Hockey Night in Canada. Like I think that had something to do with it too, with that Selly. Like I think Cole Perfetti's feeling it. He's playing the best hockey of his career. Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, you just put your team up 1 with 3 minutes left on the power play.
Well,
like, yeah.
And after all the big guns couldn't do it, right? And I'm not trying to dunk on that first unit or anything like that, but you scored that goal that completely changed the game for everyone. And that's pretty huge when 6 months ago you weren't allowed to play hockey because your coaches thought you were bad, you know? Like it's pretty special. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And like Vince says in the chat here, and you pulled that up. Absolutely. He's the type of guy who will
From the deep dive
pass first if he can. The shot was there, pass wasn't. He took it. He scored. That was it.
It's like Scheifele. Like
exactly.
It's shot quality at that point. Like with a guy like Perfetti, like he's everything he does is a percentage play, whether it's a pass or a shot. It's like what's the higher chance of becoming a goal? And like
right way to play sports.
Yeah,
yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, high level decision making there from Cole Perfetti. Got to mention that female fan who got stared down. That was I love how Mason Appleton puts in the empty netter and the camera immediately goes
it's
to her.
So good. I know.
Fantastic.
I agree.
Yeah.
I will say though,
poor
Rasmus Henderson, please keep doing that. Please keep doing that because it's such a funny thing. It's so funny. I love it.
And it's easy to get dunked on when you lose.
Interact with the crowd. I love it. I think it's great. It's so funny, even if it's to be mean or whatever. I love it. I love it. Keep it up.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, like, the Jets fan was in the front row. There was a lot of Jets fans. I could tell from the broadcast last night in Calgary.
Holy smokes!
When they would score and they would pan to the crowd.
Yeah,
good amount of Jets fans. And
I actually know a ridiculous amount of people that were at that game too yesterday. Like,
there's a lot of Winnipeggers in Calgary though. Like, there's any Canadian city, I feel like the exception, maybe I'm wrong here, but like Ottawa, like is the one where it's like there's not like a big contingent of Jets fans there in the games, but a lot of Canadian cities there's usually a pretty loud cheer. Like
I always listen for the True North.
Sure.
Always. My favorite part of watching the broadcast. It's so good.
Yeah. I don't know. There are some places that are much more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, much louder than others, let's say, the True North. But as Matt Hyman said, that was a healthy True North last night. Lots of Jets fans in the stands. You love to see that. Making the trip out to Calgary, or they live out in Calgary and are just big Jets fans. Okay, we talked about the majority of the positives. Let's move on. There's 2 players that are pretty evidently struggling right now. Let's start with Gabe Vilardi. Lyss, you touched on him a little bit earlier, so I'll start with Jacob here. Jacob, what?
I'm only coming in for the negatives. I hate that.
we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it. Don't worry. But Gabe Vilardi, you got the 1 goal against Seattle. It was a classic Gabe Vilardi goal.
Beautiful goal.
It was really, really nice goal, but he just looks like he's struggling. That top line, still getting outchanced at 5-on-5. He's not really touching the puck on the power play, as Lyss said earlier on in the show. What are you seeing from Vilardi through these first 8 games?
Yeah, I think like it's so weird because like last year too, like he had a lot more shot attempts, shots, you name it, on the power play. And that's kind of been not diminished, but it's like they've got more options now in the first power play. He's not the main kind of guy there. He's passing more, which is great. So that takes me to the power play. At 5-on-5, the thing, I don't know if you guys do this too, but I just feel like that line hasn't been able to sustain that sort of ozone time for, 20 seconds a piece where they're cycling, they're really moving, and Gabe starts to be activated. And because of that, like his game is on the wall. His strengths are that way. And they, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to do that, whether it's them adapting to opposition or whatever it may be. And I think it's just kind of hard for that kind of guy to be an impact player in different situations. Like, no, I'm not trying to knock you. I just mean like if it's kind of a sloppy back and forth game, like is Gabe Vilardi the kind of guy you want when your back's against the wall? Probably not. You want him in a game where he's digging pucks out and that kind of thing. And there hasn't been a lot of those chances. That's what I see. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not about to go, crap on Gabe right now for how he's playing. Like, he's not playing great. Let's be honest. But I also think that situationally, he hasn't been the best kind of looks so far.
I want to say also, I think he's getting really good chances. Like not as many as the 8 players who are a point per game on the team right now. That's goes without saying. But last night on the 5-on-3, he had a point blank in the crease wrist shot that Dustin Wolf saved, right? And last year, I mentioned this, I think it was the St. Louis game. Kyle Connor hits Gabe Vilardi backdoor. It hits him right in the skates. 95% of the time last year, that goes skate to stick, bar down, Gabe Vilardi scores. It goes off his skate and like goes away from his stick, and he doesn't even get a shot off, right? And it's like last year, that would have been so money for Gabe Vilardi. He finished at such a high rate around the net that when he's not scoring these chances, when he's point blank against Dustin Wolf and he makes a blocker save right, like dead in the slot, it's like last year he would have buried that. And he finished at such a high rate in those high danger areas that I think it might result in a little bit of streakiness this year. Like you might see Gabe Vilardi score 6 goals in 2 games and then go with these like 1 goal in 8 games kind of streaks that we're seeing right now.
Says the guy that predicted Vilardi to score 40 goals. Right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Sure.
No,
He'll be so streaky, man.
He's streaky. Trust me. No, but I just like from what we saw last year, I just refuse to believe that Vilardi is a 20 goal scorer when healthy. Like I just don't.
No, I agree.
I don't like he's a 30 goal scorer.
I think Jacob, what you brought up makes a lot of sense because like the moments where he's on the boards, like below the hash marks, frankly, on the boards at all in the offensive zone, he is still super effectively getting that puck out. Like exactly why, the whole comment from Scott O'Neill at the beginning of the season, that line is super hard to get the puck away from, whatever. It's mostly Gabe Vilardi, in my opinion, though I think right now Kyle Connor is playing the best hockey out of that line. I think he's playing really, really well.
Agreed.
And he holds on to the puck really well. In terms of like skating with the puck and cycling with the puck, I think he holds on really well. Gabe Vilardi holds on really well on the boards and he's able to chip it out, whatnot. I totally agree. I think you're totally right that he's just not in the right situations to utilize that all the time. And like you said, I don't know why exactly that is, but I think he just needs to like grease up the wrists a little bit for those net front goals, right? Like it's not. I think he's just a little step down there.
Games too, like this year.
Yeah.
Like there's been a lot of not ugly games, but games where you're like, like this is this is not like
gross.
Yeah, this is not fun. Like this is not real quote unquote intense hockey. And the Jets been winning those games, to their credit. But I think when the spring comes around, when the stakes get higher, and it'll happen before them, but like the games that really are the most integral, like that's where Gabe shines. Like those type of games where you're cycling, where it's hard, there's not as much room, you're operating in tight space. That's where Gabe thrives. And he will.
And that was just absolute chaos last night. Like we talked about it off the top, but just some of the weirdest goals I've ever seen last night. Especially the Dylan Sandberg one.
We already talked about it, I'm sure, but like first 2 minutes, I'm like,
what is going on? Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe on that first power play, Gabe Vilardi would have scored.
Scores there.
Nikolai was trying to pass it to him.
Right.
He scores there. Like I have no doubt in my mind he scored. Or maybe this year he doesn't. It goes off his skate and bounces to the slot, but whatever.
And some people in the chat are saying, oh, like he's looking pretty slow out there. Like, that is who he is. And he was able to, he manages that just fine. Like it's all the other things that just like in spite of, not being the fastest player in the world and stuff like that, he's been successful. It's just, it's need a little more from him right now.
And another guy who's struggling by the analytics last night, evidently by the eye test, Dylan DeMello just signed a 4-year contract, $4.9 million. That top pairing has weirdly like lost, not by goals, but by like shot attempts, expected goals, things like that. It's kind of lost their minutes this year, or like is significantly down from last year. Jacob, we'll start with you again because this is what you're here for. What have you seen from
Dunk on
Dylan
these
DeMello?
Losers? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Dylan DeMello
I don't
this
see
year.
you.
Any
I don't
concern
see
there?
what the numbers are seeing. Like, I think they're fine.
You don't see it? You don't think he's struggling?
No.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Last night, last night
he struggled.
Last night, DeMello struggled. Yes, I meant you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, like we all know, like it wasn't the best game.
Okay.
But I'm just saying the number, and I've seen the numbers. Not great in terms of expected goals, Corsi, and all that. I think that a big reason that the numbers aren't that great this year is Morrissey and DeMello are with Scheifele's line quite a bit. Like, and that line's hemmed in big time. Now, Sammer and Pionk have had the last 2 or 3 games a lot more time with that line, but the first 5 games, I want to say, or there's like we're so early in the year that like a 4-3 game stretch of being with a line is significant. So that's where I think their numbers aren't great. I think with DeMello, like, I'm curious what you guys think about this, but I almost think that last year he was like it was always going to regress to the mean. Like, he's not a puck mover. He's not like, that's not who he is. He's a complimentary guy to a Morrissey. And I think that whether it was the goals or whatever, I always thought like, this is great, but like, this isn't Dylan DeMello. Like, if he regresses down, it's still, whatever for me. I mean, like, it is what it is. I think that pairing will always kind of struggle against the elite pairings or the elite lines in the league. But so far, I mean, I don't see it. Like, I think that DeMello's been a lot more physical this year. I'm not sure if that's intentionally or just maybe my eye and my bias. I don't know, but I think that DeMello's been a lot better in some of those plays, and I think Morrissey's been solid. Like, I don't know, I don't see it. Like, Lyss, are you on that camp?
No, I understand why people are kind of
He's ripping Connor to shreds.
Yeah. Okay, I'm on my
terrible
own here.
take.
I'll start writing down my notes on what.
So people in the chat are really bringing this up. They say that someone said he's feeling the shot blocks. People said he had so many giveaways last night and stuff like that. I agree with you, Jacob, that last night was the worst of what we've seen from DeMello. He hasn't been like exceptional, perfect, anything like that. But what I kind of wanted to talk about with this whole thing is that Dylan DeMello, I think, doesn't get enough credit for his offensive puck management. I think he holds the blue line really well in the sense of, like, you articulated it perfectly when talking about Cole Perfetti, the whole idea of the high percentage play. He, I think, really manages that well from the point, and more often than not, when he gets the puck on his stick in the offensive zone, it will lead to more possession. It's not necessarily some big clap bomb, anything like that, some high percentage shot or anything, but he'll make the right pass to sustain a little bit of offensive zone pressure. Really like that. Feeling like I haven't loved all of his decision making as much, specifically last game. Like you said, he's not some big amazing transition player. He's not making those awesome stretch passes, anything like that. So when he's a little bit below his own average in that sense, he doesn't look super great because that's not one of his strengths to begin with. I agree with you. But where I'm just interested in this whole conversation is, like you said, Connor, they extended this player. Super glad they did. I think he's a really valuable addition to this blue line. He could be the worst defenseman in the NHL for the rest of his career, and it would still be, he still outperformed our expectations when they brought in this player, right? Like, this guy is so good. I think that their intention with him was to play him with Morrissey, but not long-term. In the next 2-3 years, back down he goes to a second, third pairing with some of the younger defensemen that the Jets have coming in, like who knows, maybe a Salamonson, maybe a Hainala when he's healthy, some of these new younger guys, and Alphonse Frey for all I know, right? But just whenever he's underperforming a little bit by my eyes, I wonder if that is a little bit more of a ticking time bomb than we think it is, and we need the Jets to start looking for a new partner for Morrissey to play with him in 2 years as opposed to like 3. Is
it too early? I agree with everything you're saying, and like that question, that looming question, when he signed the contract, it was like, hey, eventually this will end up as a second, third pair. Is it earlier than expected? I think that's a great question. What is it too early for this take? I think the Jets, if they're going to buy at the deadline, would be better off buying a top 4 defenseman than a 2C again for the 4th time.
I agree.
Yeah. I think it might be too early for that.
I don't know.
8 games into the season.
But I think the thing is also, like, Vlad Namestnikov is not a Stanley Cup winning 2C, so.
Yeah, like...
Yeah,
I think...
But maybe at that point, Brad Lambert is not just kidding.
Yes, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's a good question, honestly, Connor. Like, I think... like, you look at
it's a good question when the whole stream is, like, quiet for a second and, like, pondering.
Really thinking.
Okay, I'll put it this way. Dylan Samberg's been good, but if the Jets were right now with this roster they've been playing, and they haven't lost a game, but like, bear with me. How they're playing right now, going into a first round series against Dallas, do they need to upgrade on Dylan Samberg?
No, I think they need to upgrade on the right side more than the left side.
Pionk?
Pionk's been great.
Yeah, what do they need to upgrade? Oh, like DeMello, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just used to the last couple of years. So if you go into a series, though, like, what about Vlad? Like, do you think that needs an upgrade?
Right.
Like, I almost
but
of the two,
interesting question.
The thing with Vlad though is that in the playoffs, Vlad is your 3C, which
4C basically.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is
if
like
they bought,
No, not even if they bought right now.
Oh, you're saying like the
3C because
ice time wise or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's not playing second line, whatever. So that's hard.
Yeah.
I actually think we're all kind of coming to the same conclusion though, Les. It's like you're right. Yeah. Like no, but like it's like we all don't want to say it's the defenseman because it's like, well, there's a glaring hole at 2C, but to your point, it's like the playoffs come around, like that's their third line. So it's like, it's okay.
And last year they won the Jennings. Right? So it was like, oh, they don't need, and then their defense got shredded in the first round.
Yeah.
Like it's a different game. I don't see it. This thing from Jeff.
What about Samberg, guys?
Like, fair.
I love Samberg. I think he's been good, but I just think that if they could get another top 4, if they could get a top 4 right-hand defense that could play with Morrissey guys, I'd be all for it.
Rasmus
but there's
Anderson.
not someone that exists out there, and there won't be.
Yes, I know that's
you gotta breed those guys. You don't really get them.
It's not a thing. Like, it's like
I want to highlight this comment from Jeff because DeMello makes a lot of those little plays that no one notices. Sorry,
like
he breaks up plays before they happen. Yes. And I do want to. Yes, exactly. Very, very good point. And then, you'll see the plays last night that everyone notices, the turnovers, and then sometimes being out of position and stuff like that. And when you don't notice Dylan DeMello and he's killing plays, that's when he's at his best. So it's a really interesting discussion. But I do want to bring up this point. If we're done with Vilardi and DeMello,
we've harped on him enough. It's fine.
Yes. I want to bring up this point because I was curious, and a lot of people were on Twitter saying that the Jets have, bought themselves some wiggle room in the standings by starting 8-0, things like that. So I was crunching some numbers last night, put on my mathematician hat on what the Jets, like if they put from this point forward, what their points percentage is, what points they'll end up with. Okay. So bear with me. If they played 500 hockey the rest of the year, from this point forward, they'd end with 90 points. If they played 525 hockey points percentage, sorry, this is not win percentage, this is points percentage, 94 points. 555, 98 points. 585, 103 points, and 620, which they've done actually first year in the Rick Bowness era and a few years before that, they'd end with 107 points. If they played at last year's points percentage, 671, 115. And okay, so 500 was 90 points. Under 500 has only happened once since the Jets moved back. 476 in 2015. And that would be 86 points if they played like the worst team in franchise history.
That's mental.
But like they've genuinely bought themselves wiggle room in the standings here. The last year they were 671 in points percentage. The 2017-18 year they were almost like 700, and they ended that year with 114 points. But like if they play 550 points percentage hockey, they make the playoffs the rest of the year. Like, that's
nuts. Can we acknowledge that that's like the craziest stat ever? Like the fact that it shows you like, yeah, it's just 8 games, whatever, but it's like 8 games is what of this, like a 10 or an 8th of the season.
That's exactly. Kenny and Reddy talked about that to start the show yesterday. Sean was like, just like keep in mind, every game is only one game, but you're not realizing, like in the grand scheme of things, like you said, 10% of the season is gone, and they got
won every
16
single
points
game.
out of it.
So Connor, you said if they play 620 hockey, that they're at 107 points.
107, which 620 was their year-long points percentage, or it was somewhere in the 620, 630 range.
Yeah,
the first year of the Rick Bonus era, so
like 22-23,
where they finished as a wild card team and played Vegas.
They dipped a bit at the end. Yeah.
That was when they
630 points percentage and were a wild card team.
And that was the year that they were on pace. If they didn't win the last game of the season, it would have been the greatest collapse in NHL history. Was that year? So like it wasn't, because remember how they were first in the Central at the New Year or something, and then
All-Star break.
January or All-Star break or something. Yeah, it was horrible after that. So yeah, like definitely like a pretty polarizing result or anything like that. So
that year was ridiculous, because going into the All-Star break, they had like lost 3 straight. And then I remember their last game was against St. Louis, and Josh Morrissey scored this goal to put the Jets up and was like giving it to the crowd because they'd been booing for 4 games straight. And then it was like the narrative was that they needed the All-Star break more than anyone else. And then they came out the other side of the All-Star break and were just as bad. And went like, it was ridiculous. But yeah, that was interesting. But last year, also with the 671 points percentage, they had 2 8-game winning streaks last year. So you've got one of them.
It's just crazy that like the point spread between someone like Winnipeg and Nashville, who I would consider to be like in the same sort of camp of like expectations of how the year should go and whatnot. Like there could be a difference of I don't know exactly what Nashville's record is now, but like probably over 25 points in difference, right? Because if the Jets had gone 0-8 or whatever, and Nashville had won all their games, like that's a huge margin that could have looked a bit different here. Like
I'll give Connor credit. And this pains me to say it, but like a couple games ago, it was the Jets were 5-0 or 3-0. I don't know.
No, stop. They're like 5 or
6-0. And Connor was like, the Jets have a lot of room on Nashville. And I was just being like, whatever, man. It's so early and whatnot. Like, just giving it to him, like telling him he knows nothing, like on the way to the rink. I gotta be honest with you, man. You say that stat there, like that is so much ground the Jets have gotten for starters. And then secondly, like Nashville, even if they go on some crazy run like they did last year, which they won't, like that's not going to happen again. They have such an uphill battle to come near to Winnipeg. We all know Dallas will be there. We all know Colorado will probably find a way to be up there. So the Jets have gained some serious ground here. Like kind of in a year where they need it the most. I think that we can all agree Colorado's going to be better in the second half of the year. Like when they get Nichushkin back.
When they get healthy.
Maybe Landeskog's an impact player. We all know Dallas will be a very top tier team in this division. So for sure, the Jets are banking points when they need to. Like if the Jets came out and were 500 or even like just at over 500, like I think we'd be sound the alarm. We'd be looking at the standings watch and saying like, oh, the Jets have a lot of ground to make up. You got a good point, man. Like they've really given themselves a huge cushion, massive cushion.
Yeah, like if they were 500 so far with the schedule that they have, it would be concerns and like alarming. I agree. And if they play 500 the rest of the year, they're at the 90-point threshold. So they're right in the mix. And like 500 is not good. That's never happened. 500 or fewer has happened once, and it was the worst team since the Jets moved back. Like that is terrible. If they went 500,
and like last year, like I think the easiest comparison to make, whatever, is that Edmonton. I can't remember what they started the year with, but it was like whenever they fired what's his name, Woodcroft. Like they had to go on what is now in the Winnipeg's line of sight, the record, like basically like the second longest winning streak in NHL history in order to get second in the Pacific or whatever it was. Like it wasn't even like Yeah, no, these points, they don't feel as big now, but holy smokes, like we saw what happened with the win streak to end the year last year for the Jets. Like it was pretty crazy to see, and it's 2 points right now are the same as 2 points at the end of the year. It's just they feel different, but it's really nice to have.
As Nino Niederreiter said, make hay while the sun's still shining. Just bang points, and you've bought yourself this cushion. Nino did say that.
When did he say that?
In a scrum one day when they were like 5-0, and I forget who asked him, but they asked him about like, hey, you haven't like played many playoff teams, but you're winning. Like, how do you kind of balance that kind of like mental? And he's like, well, just make hay while the sun's still shining. Just keep winning games, keep banging points.
El Nino,
right?
He's the
right.
Man. Yeah,
he's the man. Nino's the man.
Yeah.
What is the Jets' longest winning streak? This one. They just tied. Last year they had 2 8-game winning streaks. They set those were records at the time. They've now tied it.
They had 2 last year. I only remember the one to end the season.
And then they had one. Nikolai Ehlers scored against Chicago at home in December. With like a minute left to give them a 2-1 lead and their 8th straight win. Yeah. So yeah, and then Monday, Toronto. Going for your longest winning streak ever.
Like I am the most. It's so insane how since the Jets came back, like we've all, when I say we, I mean like Winnipeggers have tried to make the Minnesota Winnipeg rivalry be the rivalry, and there's a rivalry there, like no doubt.
Oh yeah, like, for sure,
guys. The Jets' biggest rival, i.e., the team that this city hates and wants to come in this building, is Toronto.
Okay. Here's my thing, though.
I don't think you're wrong.
No, you're not wrong. But here's the thing: the reason that Minnesota, Winnipeg, it's because it's mutual. Everybody hates Toronto. Like every market is like, I want. Like I tweeted yesterday,
right.
I was like,
right.
the Jets won, and then I got to watch the Leafs lose. 100 likes in like 20 minutes. Like, and it wasn't even all Jets fans. It's just like so. Well, I want to be careful. Like I don't want to feel like too little brother in saying that, because like I think like Ottawa would say that and Montreal would say that.
I say one less. Like I lived in Toronto for 4 years, and weirdly enough, guys, Leafs fans hate Jets fans.
Good. Keep it that way.
Good.
Love picking on Jets fans. Like it was because
it's the biggest market versus the smallest market.
Well, yeah, I think it's for sure. Like they love to pick on us because we live in igloos or whatever.
Winnipeg,
like, but I think that there's something to be said about like what was that scene, guy? What was that game where they gave Stanley the helmet and they all went like this?
Okay, so that was the 6-3 win in December of 2022. That game is like ingrained in my brain forever. What did
they say? Remember, nothing better than beating Toronto.
Beating the Leafs, anything feel better than beating the Leafs, boys? I've seen that clip a billion times. Yeah.
Like
that was after. That was after the West Final that year. I went to the West Final. It was freezing out. I wore my Chris Trebler fur coat and cowboy hat, whatever, and then went home and watched that Jets game.
December 5th.
Core memory.
December 5th, 2022. 2022.
That was the Pionk Sandine neon knee thing. Spezza trying to commit murder.
The head.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was a game. Well, then the Bombers moved on to the Grey Cup, and then it was like Bombers, Riders, Jets, Leafs, and like come on, that's
all time.
But I will say a lot of people in chat saying, fans of the 1.0 Winnipeg Jets, it's Edmonton, which like
my dad
totally
despises Edmonton.
Yeah,
my dad.
I think I hate Edmonton more than I hate the Leafs. Like I think it's one of those things where it's like it's little brother context for me, where it's like the Jets, like Nikolai Ehlers will have a 3-point game, and you go to Sportsnet and you go to TSN, whatever. And it's like, guys, watch this 30-second clip of Connor McDavid in warm-ups or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, come on, like it's the little brother media.
I think Jets fans and Winnipeggers are conditioned to feel like, I mean, like if only Winnipeg had gotten Gretzky, if only like you would have been so. And that's kind of I think a prevailing thing where it's like, listen, Edmonton has McDavid now, but it's like, we as a market are the same kind of. We're the same as Edmonton, so I think it stings a bit to that feeling. But 1.0ers like loyalists like hate Edmonton.
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Mhm.
And honestly,
I
fair.
think our generation hate, like, as a city, like would crap on Toronto more, where it's like, let's take away hockey aside. Okay, I'm not like a Jets fan, but like I'm talking about like Winnipeg as a city. Like, we probably, our age in our young 20s, would hate, I use that word very loosely, or like look down on people that are in Toronto versus Edmonton. Like, if you meet someone from Edmonton, I'm not like, you suck, right?
Yeah.
And I live in, you know what I mean? It's
No,
not
it's one of those
that,
things
or
that, like,
Toronto, it's this whole kind of thing around it.
I feel like when it
Yes.
comes to Toronto, it's like you're hating on them because they're what you're not. You know, it's like it's not a passionate fan base in the rink because it's all suits and it's big city, whatever. And then Edmonton feels like almost like in the Saskatchewan bucket to me, where it's like, well,
Yeah.
at least there's someone who's slightly worse than us at this, you know, sort of thing, where it's like at least they're also cold and they
Well, you hate
also
them because
have
they
a small
respect
city.
them. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's like kind of a
Yeah.
weird sort of, but yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating, but it just goes to show that, like, results do significantly impact how fans feel about things, whatever. Like,
Totally.
St. Louis, I wish no success on whatsoever because 2019 was like pissed me off to no end, like, you know, sort of thing. And it's like,
Vegas.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
we
Jets
haven't
fans
even
hate Vegas.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Vegas.
You're
Like,
right. Yeah,
the
you're
best
right.
team in Jets history, and they lose to an expansion team. Come
Yeah.
on.
The thing that also, like, with Vegas though, is that I try, like, I have such complicated feelings about them too, because I would get so mad when everyone was like, well, if the Jets had simply got more Manitobans, then they would have
Right.
been Vegas. And it's like, no, that's not how this works.
That doesn't add up.
Marc-Andre
no
Fleury
Flower was,
stole that series.
yeah, Flower was pretty
Oh,
incredible.
sorry. I was talking about, like, last year when Vegas, or 2 years ago when Vegas actually won the cup.
Oh,
And we
when
had a bunch
Vegas
of
was, like, the
Manitobans
1 seed?
on the roster, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
wow, like, that's should have been our team. And it's like, really? You think Brett Houde is gonna
I
win
don't think
this
Brett
Winnipeg
Houde,
Jets? Like,
no disrespect, I don't think Brett Houde is changing the fortunes of this
no.
team.
So funny. But yeah, no, exactly. And that's how it should be, right? Is like, you hate teams that, like, you know, there are certain people where it's like, oh, I don't like, yeah, their jerseys or the city or a player, whatever. It's like, no, like, it needs to be like a deeply ingrained, like, how dare you ruin my life, and sort of thing. And
Yes.
that's what makes sports so fun.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
2 or 3 years ago when the Jets swept the Oilers, like, and I don't really remember, like, did Oilers fans or anyone hate the Jets? Like,
Oh yeah. No,
yeah?
dude, the spillover from that season was so rough. The thing is, though, is it's hard. The same way that, like, the year before that, Calgary beat the Jets in the play-in whatever round sort of thing.
Right.
I think it was easy enough for a lot of them. The same way I think it is for Jets fans, because they got swept immediately after, with Habs fans, to be like, well, it was a stupid season, it didn't count, sort of thing. So there was a little bit of that, I feel like, involved in it. But Oilers fans hate Pionk. I'm telling you, they hate Pionk, because that was the whole thing.
What?
Connor McDavid did draw a single penalty in that whole series. It's like, because
when he was defending him. Oh,
When he
yeah.
shut down.
yeah, or that whole thing, or what's the rent free, the tweet? Classic.
Yeah.
I would say, like, but the same way that it's kind of like Oilers fans, again, Saskatchewan is Bombers Rider sort of thing, where it's like, people always make fun of Edmonton for being cold. It's like, well, Winnipeg is colder. For being like, oh, small city. Well, Winnipeg is smaller, even though it's not, you know, but like that sort of thing. Like, it's like kind of two little bros trying to
absolutely
win the little bro trophy kind of thing, where
yeah.
I think Oilers fans do hate Jets fans. I do.
Yeah.
Or hate the Jets.
So
Sorry, I think they hate the Jets.
Is it too late right now? This just popped in my head to throw out like a little quote unquote our friend Alil Curve Manuk minute on the Moose here. Can I say one quick thought on the Moose?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Shout out to our friend Dave Manuk.
Yeah.
How long until we see Brad Lambert in a Jets uniform?
That's a wild question for 10-12, but I got time.
you know what? We only got 30 minutes of Jacob.
Can I tell you why? I think,
yes.
And I've been the biggest Brad Lambert pessimist, but I watched a little bit, and I went back and watched quite a bit of that Rockford game, so Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Lambert. In the past, I was kind of a Lambert pessimist a little bit. I think this guy's NHL ready. So the reason I ask, yeah, like wow. I do. He sink or swim. Like, I don't know how he'll do, but I don't. I don't know how much is left for, like, I think it's the right move for him to be in the AHL right now, like 100%. The reason I asked the question of how long till we see Brad Lambert, to be clear with you, is, and this is quickly, guys, and I know we're running out of time, but like, do the Jets take a risk? Do the Jets touch the possibility of him coming in, or do they be conservative given that they're winning this year? That is a question that I want to talk about more.
Not
so
while
than
8-0. Not well,
now,
like obviously not
but
now.
No, but here, Connor, while
Yeah.
8-0, when are you going to have a better cushion than you do right now? I
I'm
feel
not
like
saying
kind of goes both ways.
now.
No, I
saying
just
in
mean
a month or two.
Like, but even if they're like still winning significantly in a few months, sort of thing, like even if like the cushion is really huge or anything like that, I think it's actually, because I feel like the two polarizing ends of the spectrum are that if you have nothing to lose, might as well call him up and give it a shot. Or if you have a ton of wiggle room or whatever, and it's like you think that there's a high, like the boomer bust meter, like you said, is you know, it's swinging, and you really want to see if you can hit on that. That's the time to do it as well. I don't know. That wasn't an answer, but I feel like,
when will we see him? I don't know. I think it'll be by January. We'll see him in a uniform for at least one game.
Oh,
somehow.
Yeah.
You really like I thought that was bold. I was saying.
Oh no, I didn't. But I mean, also, I think maybe I'm just
bold.
like,
I think that's
yeah,
bold.
like I think that's kind of insane.
I'll take the other side of that. Yeah.
You think it'll be to like maybe not even this year?
Yeah, like the Jets are going to lose games eventually, and when they do, they'll turn to in-house adjustments before they call up.
I'm more so not predicting and never wishing this, guys, but like injuries happen.
Okay, if an injury happens, yeah, he's the first call up. Yeah,
over Chibrikov.
Depends. Top 6 player, Lambert. Bottom 6, Chibrikov.
Yeah. That's tough too, because I loved. Yeah, I just think it's an interesting question to pose, because it's like we kind of talked about Brad a lot, like in this, and I just wanted to bring it up because it's like I think that people still need to appreciate, like, there's a really good prospect, I think, in this market that I think could be a really good player. It may not be right now this second, but I think it's sooner than people kind of think. Maybe people are all thinking he'll be the Messiah. I don't know, but like. I love Brad Lambert. Like I think before I was kind of unsure, and like he to me just seems like he's processing the game a lot quicker than he was last year. And I think he's, as we all know, his raw skill set, exceptional skater, and that's exciting. Like I think even when the Jets are buzzing, like you gotta look towards the future, and like this guy's legit. Like
well, Jacob, I don't know what you're doing next weekend, but. We're going to the Moose game, so you want to come yap about it.
We're going to the Moose game.
We're going to the Moose game.
Well, on the Moose game, Lyss will watch me spill my popcorn all over the place, as Connor sees every single day. I literally, like, my suit jacket is embedded in popcorn because I am such a mess eater.
As I'm sitting there looking at the points gap, as I'm sitting there looking at the points gap between Winnipeg and Nashville, and Jacob's spilling popcorn all over the place, we'll wonder what Lyss is thinking in that moment. But that's what it'll be. That's the scene.
Where I think there's a lot to look at in terms of like the certain opportunities that would warrant a Brad Lambert call-up that are so hard to like predict or anything like that. But I genuinely I still think that regardless of I think they want to try and get him a few games this year. I really do. I really do think that. So
I do too.
Yeah,
I agree, because it's like, what's funny? It's like I agree with what Connor said there about how like typically they go in-house. But I'm not gonna open up. I'm gonna phrase this properly so I don't keep us here forever. I think Arneal's a bit different than what I expected.
He's not like other girls.
Yeah, right. Okay, Lyss. Jesus. Yeah, Scott Arneal is not like other coaches, girls, whatever you want to say. But that was good. But my point being is, I think he's, and not just him, but I think that they're a little bit more, I want to, open-minded, maybe to the idea of like, let's say they weren't scoring a little bit. Let's say Lambert was scoring, whatever it may be. I think they're open to the idea of trying things. And I want to make this clear. I think that Arneal would 100% do less than a traditional top 6, bottom 6 kind of setup. I think he's working with the cards he's been dealt. If Brad Lambert had pushed the envelope more, he would play him in that role with, and it probably would have been Nino and Iafallo or whoever would have been. Like Iafallo and someone. He would have done it. So the reason I mentioned that is I think if we see Lambert rip it up here, like, I think they'll recall him on merit. I really do.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I mean, like you said, we talked about the second line, the Nemestikov line, sorry, whatever. Getting more ice time these last few games, whatever. Like, I think there is a little bit more of this whole, yeah, like you said, merit. I don't want to go as far as saying results. A lot of people in the chat have brought up, results. If we're going based on results, that first line needs to be fired into the sun at 5-on-5. So I'm not all the way overcorrecting, but I think you're right. I think there's a lot left to learn about this. Sorry, I actually had to bite my tongue from laughing so hard at this the Spency comment from saying above. He's like, my house caught on fire and Brad Lambert ran in to save all my cats. Thank you so much, Big Brad. You guys are so funny, but we had a lot of fun with this one today. It's always a good time.
Chat is rolling today. Team's undefeated. Everyone's in a good mood. Thank you everyone for joining us live Sunday morning. Thank you, Jacob, for joining us live Sunday morning. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Just happy to be in the same room as him.
Yes, exactly.
The Palmer score.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
exactly.
Just honored to be
in the building with them tonight. Sorry, I butchered that. Damn.
No, it's good.
It hurt.
Hit the like button. Yeah, hit the like button if you're enjoying the stream. We really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. Do we quickly want to talk about the Bomber game? I know this is a Jets show, and there's a lot of Jets topics here. And some people are asking about Comrie. We opened the show with that.
Yeah, you want Comrie talk? We talked about him for like 20 minutes to start the show today.
Yeah. So a lot of the Flames talk. Yeah, a lot of the Flames game and the 8-0 start from the start. Jacob joined us. We kept the conversation going. So go check it out. But have you guys ever seen anything like that? A gust of wind while the punter is coming out? Like, Lyss, that was insane.
It was so weird, specifically because the wind switched directions. That's the weird part. Like, if it was chill and all of a sudden it comes, it would be like, oh, whoa. But when Sergio Castillo went to try and kick that, what was it, like 61-yarder or something like that? I understand why they went for it. You had to do what you had to do, sort of thing. But it was 61 yards and the wind was going against him. And then the earth spun on its axis and all of a sudden the wind was going in his direction. Because it flipped and the punter for Montreal kicked into like a freaking tornado or something and then put the Bombers in field goal position. I was like, what is going on here? I thought it was over after Castillo missed that field goal. I was like, oh my God, this sucks. But
I remember I was sitting there with my dad and it was like, yeah, it was over. Like they lost. It was devastating. I was going to have to miss the Moose game next Saturday because there would have been a home Bomber game. I was like, this is terrible.
Which also, everyone who's still here in the chat, we got to figure out what we're doing on November 9th because we're booking a bus. We're doing something like that's going to be a sick day. No, November 9th is
West Final.
West Final.
The Jets play the Stars at 2 p.m. and then the Bombers play in the West Final against.
I was like, if we're booking a bus to the Moose game,
we
need I don't know.
What are we doing? The WST budget doesn't go that deep.
Yeah, we're not.
The bus is
we're
going
booking a bus. It picks you up on on Corden and it takes you all the way there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's called the 11, or I don't know what public transit works.
It's called the Blue Line. It's called the Blue Line. Yeah. No, but seriously, that, like Phyllis says, that was mind-boggling. The heavens helped the Bombers win. Like the wind front moving in at the exact moment. Like when the punter ran onto the field, it wasn't windy.
No,
and then he goes to line up,
like pouring
he's
or
killing
something.
clock, and then it starts like like you said, Lyss, this tornado. Guy starts punting into a tornado. And then, like it was over. And I remember sitting there with my dad and just like, we were both speechless when that ball went out at like the 40. I was like, that's closer than what they just were. And they have the win now. Like, this is
insane.
This is
I'm sure
a moment.
There will be lots of content about that game and the upcoming game on great on comment Monday. On the chat. On the big show this week and everything. So we're microdosing the Bomber talk here on this lovely WST Sunday Live, but you'll get all kinds of that on the big show this week.
Yes, I just wanted to mention how insane that was. Felt like I couldn't go without it. But we've gone long enough. 10:22. Thank you everyone who joined us this morning and stuck with us from 9 a.m. all the way till right now. If you enjoyed the stream, hit the like button, hit the subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss this video. We go live every single Sunday at 9 a.m. All Jets talk all the time. If the Bombers win on a gust of wind, maybe we'll bring them up. But mostly it's Jets talk 99% of the time.
Jets Thank talk you everyone for joining divine us. Intervention in other sports.
Yes, exactly. And lots of rivalry talk. But anyways,
always.
Let's move on. Enjoy the game this week. Can't wait to see everyone Wednesday at Boston Pizza Polo Park for the Jets and Red Wings. The Little Brown Jug BP kickoff. Little Brown Jug on tap. Can't wait to see everyone there. Call and reserve a table if you want to show up. As for this episode, we're going to get going. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone, and enjoy the Leafs game on Monday, and we'll see you all Wednesday. See ya.